Hi, thanks for watching. A pocket guide for family members affected by somebody's drinking, drug taking, or gambling. Now, my name's Ed Seiper, and I work for the Southeastern Trust Addiction Service here in Northern Ireland. A really important thing to say before we start this, we're going to talk about some ideas we believe are going to be helpful, but it's up to you what you decide is going to be helpful for you. When somebody has a problem with alcohol, drugs, or gambling, it affects everybody around them. Now, the World Health Organization would estimate worldwide there's 100 million people who may be affected by somebody's alcohol or drug use. Gambling would put that figure much higher. Now, when you consider how common alcohol and drug problems and gambling are, you could be guaranteed you're not alone. So where did the work come from in the Pocket Guide? Now, we produced it based on evidence-based support for family members and, most importantly, hope. Now, what we based it on mainly comes from AFRINET, Addiction and the Family International Network, a network of researchers and practitioners who have a passion for supporting family members. They developed what's known as the 5-step method, an evidence-based for family members in their own right. So I'm going to be talking about that, and a lot of what we based the Pocket Guide is based on their work. But there are other evidence-based interventions for family members, and I'll mention them later in the clip. But what is clear, there is not a consistent drive to build evidence-based interventions for family members. We're hoping this clip can make a contribution in changing that. Now, it's also based on taking the lid off. Taking the lid off is a resource developed by our addiction unit, along with our family members who attend a relative support group every Tuesday night in our addiction unit. And they were very clear. They asked us, give us information that's going to help us understand addiction and what's going to help us. So we'll give you links of how you can download that booklet later on. Now, to get started, we believe two things. When there's problematic alcohol or drug use or gambling in the family, in no way are family members to blame for what's happening in their family. But we also believe family members have needs in their own right. And that's where the 5-step method comes, because that's aimed at family members for themselves in their own right. Now, in the booklet, we're going to use terms like substance misuse, and that can range from excessive use to problem use to addiction. The guide also could be used for problem gambling. Now, the experience of family members. Extreme stress and the dilemmas of how to cope are common. Worry, corrosive worry for family members are so common when you're living with these problems. But you can get so used to living with what's going on, you see it as acceptable, and you don't realize the impact it's having on you. Now, there's a list of impacts on family members. I wonder, can you relate to any of these? A family member, a parent, spouse, brother, sister that's emotionally or physically unavailable, financial pressures, needing to take responsibility and care for the people around you, exhaustion and resentment, trying to protect the loved one and hide the problem, verbal or physical abuse can and does happen, sadly, watching somebody you love physically and psychologically deteriorates over years. Always expecting the unexpected, that can leave you drained. Having to leave the family home for safety. And if you're a child or a young person, living with alcohol, drug problems, or gambling is what is known as adverse childhood experiences. They can have a lasting impact as you go into adulthood. Now, common thoughts or beliefs sometimes families do have, and these often aren't very helpful. If we don't talk about it, it doesn't exist. I don't need help. Help the person, I'll be okay. So often family members blame themselves, it's my fault, and children can do that. And that's kind of normal for kids, but they can think, well, it's my fault. It's my responsibility. It'll be okay if they stop or cut down. If we keep doing what we're doing, even if it really doesn't help, somehow things will get better and things can just seem normal. This is the way things are. People begin to accept what's unacceptable. Now, there's no right or wrong way to respond for this extremely stressful situation. There's no rule book. What we'd like you to consider is what's going to work best for you. We're keen to put some ideas on the table for you. Now, before we do, safety first. Sadly, domestic abuse can escalate when alcohol and drugs are misused. So it's important you know how to maximize your safety. Make sure you have a backup plan for crises, somebody you can turn to who you trust. Know the domestic abuse services in your area. Make sure you know how to contact emergency services if you need them. Keep a little bit of money aside in case you need to make an urgent phone call, or if you have a mobile, make sure you keep it charged. Make a list of people you can call and memorize their numbers if there's an emergency. Speak to somebody you can trust about your situation. That could be a good friend or a professional. So to start with, a couple of ideas for you, some practical things that might help. First, care for yourself. You may be so used to putting your needs second because the person with the alcohol, drug problem, or gambling issue, their needs always come first. You could be doing this for years. Self-care is a way you can look after yourself and recognize it's not your fault. So many family members carry feelings of guilt and blame for the person's drinking, drug taking, or gambling. And get support for you. Building your own support is so important, having people or activities that work for you. So a core message that you hear so often when you talk about the needs of family members. You didn't cause it, you can't control it, you can't cure it, but you can take better care of yourself. And this can help you and may influence others around you in a positive way. So what we're going to talk about, and we said it's based a lot on what's AFRENET's 5-step method. We're going to talk about what's living with this like for you. What information do you need or will you find helpful? How do you tend to cope or respond? What social support do you have? We are going to talk a little bit about resilience and further help and support. So the first step, how does living with somebody's alcohol, drug taking, or gambling affect you or other people in your family? Now, thinking about this can be upsetting and may lead to strong, unpleasant, and uncomfortable feelings. These feelings, they're not right or wrong, they're normal. It's what you do with these feelings is important. So, what's it like to live with somebody with an alcohol, drug, or gambling problem? Now, so many people have told us their experiences, they're restless, they can't settle, they're moody, they're irritable, they do foolish and embarrassing things, they spoil special occasions, they can go missing. We don't talk like we used to. Things in our home are so unpredictable and chaotic. They could be threatening and violent. So how does it affect you? Think about the other person's drinking, drug taking, and gambling, and what impact does it have on your feelings, your physical health, your mental health, and your mood, your work, your family life, your sleeping, your appetite. Talking this over with somebody you trust who doesn't try to fix it for you, they just listen, will be a good start. Next, what information do you need or would you find helpful? Knowledge is power. Relevant information, credible information can reduce stress. Now, what people have told us over the years, what they wanted to know, will help us understand addiction. Why do people keep doing such destructive behavior despite the harm it's doing themselves and everybody else around them? What's relapse and why do people relapse? How common is addiction? Does drinking and drug taking affect mental health? More information on the range of different drugs. Now, the challenge is, where do you get good, reliable, credible information? Now, the internet's one source. I can give you loads of information, and you got to search and find what's credible. Libraries, local health providers may be able to provide you relevant, good information. The important thing is you choose what information you need and then look for it. Next, how do you tend to cope or respond to the situation? Now, coping with the extreme stress and the chronic stress that tends to come along with somebody's drinking, drug taking, or excessive gambling can be challenging. Now, coping could mean different things to different people. We see coping as what you do or feel in response to what's going on around you. And because you had to work it out on your own, it's like trial and error. Now, the way you cope may be helpful for you. On the other hand, it may just help you survive what's really a difficult situation. It's often unhelpful if it increases guilt and worry. And there's no right or wrong here. What's going to help you? Now, research into the styles family members tend to use to cope. Here's where we're going to benefit from AFNet's work. They talked to loads of family members in different parts of the world, and they were able to identify 3 main styles of coping. Now, the styles are broken down into other components, but the 3 main styles: you put up with it, you get tolerant, you try to regain control. You're going to take charge of the family. You're going to get them to stop. Withdrawing, that could mean pulling inward, but also gaining independence and getting on with your own life. Now, each of these ways of coping can have advantages and disadvantages. Now, take putting up with it. On one side, it could reduce arguments. At the same time, it can make the family member feel taken advantage of, or the drinker or drug taker or gambler doesn't take responsibility. Those styles of coping. Again, there's no right or wrong. Do you find yourself using any of these? Do they work for you? What's both useful and maybe not so useful about them? Are there other ways you could respond that could work for you? And as we said, there is no right or wrong way of coping. There's no rule book. How you do respond could be a major dilemma for family members. The purpose of this is to sit back and choose what's going to work best for you. We've already mentioned the need for support. We all need support in difficult situations. And by helping family members sit back and look at the support they have can often be really useful. Often they can look at their support. Is it really helpful? Is it unhelpful? They can choose what's right for them. Very often family members realize they have a lot more support than they thought they had. So actively looking for support. Now, in the booklet, we do talk about resilience. Resilience are those strengths that help people rise above and cope with adversity. Now, research into resilience over the years has looked at what helps people survive or even thrive despite the difficult circumstances they're living with. But resilience isn't a trait. It's a process. It's open to influence and how you can strengthen your resilience. Now, the building blocks to resilience, here we're going to put 4. Top of the pile, and most important, having a stable person in your life, somebody you can lean on, somebody who's dependable and reliable. Feeling you can overcome hardships and guide your destiny. Feeling equipped to manage your own behavior and emotions. And feeling involved, feeling connected, feeling part of something. Those are the 4 building blocks to resilience. And it's like a reservoir. If you have your resilience, does life drain it out of you, or do you keep replenishing? In the booklet, we talk about the I am, I have, I can factors. I am, it's about my strengths and my characteristics. I can are about my skills, and I have are about the supports I have. So what do you do to rebuild your resilience? Now, an important thing about resilience, the research has told us there's no age that has a monopoly on when you can strengthen your resilience. And a powerful quote that's always stood with me is by Viktor Frankl, Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, who went on to do a lot of work after he survived Auschwitz. And he wrote, "When you're no longer to change a situation, we're challenged to change ourselves." Now, an important thing about resilience, and what seems to really build it, is what we call active agency. When you actively choose the information you need and how to get it, how you respond to their drinking, drug taking, and gambling, what support you use, and how you look after yourself. You actively choose. That's what's going to strengthen your resilience. Now, we're not going to be able to talk about support worldwide because where you're looking at this clip is going to be very valued. In Northern Ireland, every trust does have a dedicated service that's trained in the 5-step method. Where you can locate them is at that website, www.trustedni.ie. drugsandalcoholni.info. In other areas, check with your local alcohol and drug services and gambling services and ask what support do you offer family members, but also ask what's it based on? What evidence-based interventions do you offer us? Now, I did mention the 5-step method is one evidence-based intervention. There are others. There's CRAFT, community reinforcement and family training, as a good evidence base of being supportive to family members. And there are others. But like I said earlier, there is not the consistency of how we offer family members that support worldwide. That needs to grow. Taking it off, if you want to get a copy of it, you can download it, and there's a web address. We're also going to put the link where you got this clip. Other support. If you've got a young person in the family, the website Steps to Cope, we took the adult 5-step method and adapted for young people. The Steps to Cope website has a range of information for young people on parental substance misuse and mental health issues. In England, ADFEM has a wealth of resources and information for family members. In the States, SAMHSA, there's a website for information for family members. In Finland, Fragile Childhood has information and support for those affected by parental alcohol misuse. And worldwide, Al-Anon, a fellowship of men and women to support family members and friends of those with alcohol problems, do meet worldwide. Where you can get a local meeting, there's a website. Now, we do have a couple of other YouTube clips that are available. Just search my name, Ed Seipler. We have a clip on worry, on helping people if they do have a relapse, but also to help people look at alcohol, drugs, and change. So feel free to have a look at them if you want. If you took anything from this clip, it's our hope you took away these messages. You're not alone. It's not your fault. It's okay to talk about it, and you deserve help in your own right. Thanks for taking the time to watch this. It's our hope you got something from this. If you're a worker in the alcohol and drug field, think about joining AFRENET so we can help strengthen that evidence base of what works for family members. If you're a family member, you choose what's right for you, and we do hope you got something from this.